In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know to build your first website with Weebly. So this is a step-by-step tutorial in which I'll show you all of the tools, where to find them, and how to use them so you can effectively and efficiently build your first website today. Now this is a tutorial for beginners, but in the description of this video, I'll have some notes there for different times. If you are not a total beginner and you want to jump to a certain section, feel free to do so in the description. So let's start off going to the link at the top of the description, and it'll bring you right here to a page that looks something like this. So it's Weebly, and there's e-commerce by Square. There's different options here. We're going to go to sign up on the top right, and this will be pretty straightforward. They just want your name and your email. So let's do that right now. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably already selected Weebly compared to Squarespace or Wix or many others out there, and it is definitely a good choice. I like using Weebly as much as I like using the other ones. Each one has its own purpose. Weebly is great because you can also have a free version when you start off, but I really do recommend, if you have a business, upgrading to premium is very, very necessary. So we'll talk about that later on in the video. But once you sign up for an account, it brings you to the very next page. Again, I really like the clean layout right here. So it says, do you want to just have a website, or do you want a website with an online store? I will make another video in the future about online stores in particular, or we can add one if we really want one. But right now, I'm just going to say I just need a website, and I'll show you how we're doing that in this video. So just selecting website, they give you a whole bunch of templates. You can select a theme, as they call it. And so there's lots of options at the top. If it's a business, a portfolio, they split it into several groups that really make sense for most people at least. So you can say if you're like a blog, you probably go with one of these over here, and they definitely kind of arrange it a little bit more for a blog type setup. Now that's not to say that if you choose this one, it has to be a blog. If you choose it, you could easily make it a portfolio or a business or a personal one. It just might require a little bit more of reworking, which is really not a big deal. So for our purposes, let's go down and choose, how about this one right here, just a blog about food. So they show you what the theme looks like. You can go through here and kind of click around and use the website for an example. Say there's like an about me, it's a personal type of blog. You can go to the blog page and you can have a contact page. And maybe for our purposes today, that's all we really need to have. And for this tutorial, I'll show you everything you need to know for the other tools as well if you're making a business or something else. But just for the example, let's use a blog one right here. So we can go up to Start Editing, click the blue button in the top corner there, and this will bring you into the actual theme. So they're going to build it for you, have the website ready, and then we can start customizing. So the first thing you're prompted with then is to actually select a domain, and you can actually transfer or connect one if you already have one. I'm not going to show that in this video. Instead, we'll just get a brand new one. So right here, www.mikeobrieniscool.com. Let's just say, see if that's available. Who knows? If it is, we can snag it. And so they show you right there, there is a professional domain, mikeobrieniscool.com. Believe it or not, nobody took that one. So it's included with a 1-year plan. So we can go down and select this one. And they have other ones as well, other domains that are similar. If yours is not available, they suggest a few that are available, or you can just keep looking for it. So that'll bring you to the next page here, and here you can see there's several different plans you can choose from, and each plan has different features and a different price associated. And if you actually want a free one, I know earlier I said you can have a free one, so if we jumped back one step, you'll notice that on the bottom of the screen, you can actually go and select a free one, and you'll continue on. Everything will be pretty much normal, but when you publish your site, it will definitely be less professional. So you'll have Weebly ads all over there, and you also won't have your own domain. You'll have limited storage and some other limits like that. So your domain will be like mikeobrieniscool.weebly.com. If you're running a business, you obviously can't have that. But if it's like a personal, maybe a project for school, or if you're just doing it for fun, or if you're looking to maybe have like a wedding website that's not professional, then it might be fine for you. So definitely check that out. But for most businesses, and I recommend actually most websites in general, you probably want to upgrade here. So 3 plans. One thing to note is the price that they show you is the billed annually price. So you do save money if you get it for the year. If you want to pay month to month, it is a little bit more expensive, as you see on the bottom. That's like 50% more expensive, or 30%, whatever, more expensive. So I recommend you go down and compare all features. So if we go down, they show you them, and there's definitely some big differences here. So instead of just jumping on the cheapest one right there, you'll notice that you do have to pay extra for your domain then. That might only be $10 or $12 a year. maybe a little bit more. They do all have SSL security, which means that they're all encrypted, they're safer, they have a little lock icon on the top next to your domain. A lot of people look for that if they're going to make online purchases. This is not an e-commerce store, but they still pretty much look for that when they go to websites. You do not have unlimited storage with the cheapest one, or actually, sorry, yes you do, but it does not remove the square ads, which is kind of a drawback there that I find. I like to get rid of those ads so it doesn't say powered by Weebly on there. I think that's kind of unprofessional. So for most people, I recommend going with the middle plan right here, unless you really want to go with the unlimited one over there when you have more members, or you can have just some other stuff going on. So I'm going to select the professional one for this video, and I'm making this website. I'm not actually using this website for anything. So while I type in my credit card information and pay to show you guys this tutorial, please consider going down and clicking the like button and the subscribe button, and let's jump back to this in a second. Okay, so next I want to give you guys just a full tour of the editor here, what the tools are, where to find them, and how to use them. So starting off with the top bar there, the first thing is build, and build gives you everything on the side there on the left side. These are your tools when you're really doing most of the work on your page, when you're trying to really build it, move things around, make it look good, add content. Most of that is going to be done in the build tab. And we will come back to this. I'll show you pretty much everything in here, but continuing through, we have pages, and pages is a great way to go through your different pages. So right now we only have 4 with this template. We have home, we have blog, we have about, and we have contact. So with those 4, you can go into each one of them. So if you click on it, it'll bring you to that page and also brings up the menu for it on the left side. So this is where you want to rename it, or you can hide it from navigation. So for example, if I want this to be about Mike, I don't know, same thing really. And if we want this to, well, first of all, you'll see that if we do about Mike, it shows up in the top right there in your navigation. If you want to hide it and you don't want that to be there, maybe it's a page that we just want to maybe only link to, we can go and hide it in navigation, and you'll see it disappears in the top right. You can have headers, so you can have, if you want a header, no header, or if you want like splash, whatever, all those. So let's check out splash right now. Different headers. You can see that it just looks a little bit different. I don't know. So for this one, I'm going to say, let's add just whatever regular header. We can tap and edit that later. Then we can also go into our SEO settings. And one thing with the Weebly is SEO can be a little bit tricky. We'll talk about this more later on in the video. But this is where you can have like the page title, the page description, the meta keywords, things like that, the footer code. If you're going to add like maybe a pixel or something, you can do a lot of that in here. So we'll come back to that later on in the video. Now, if you want to rearrange the pages, so if we want to switch like contact and blog here, you can click and drag them, switch them either way. And if you want contact to be a sub page of blog, which means that it'll pop up in a menu below there and people can go and check that out, then you just click and drag it to the right and you'll see it disappears from the main menu there, but people can still access it if they go and check out up there. See how it pops out below that when you hover over a blog. So that's essentially everything in the pages area. Of course, you can add another page if you want, and there should be some options for what the page is like. If you want like a product page or a category page, a standard page, most of those, should be covering pretty much everything you're trying to do. Then if we go over to theme, we already chose a theme before, but you can change the theme, you can change the fonts, and you can change some theme options here if you want. So not actually that many theme options there, as you can see. You do have a lot of different fonts you can mess around with, change whatever the default of that. I recommend using as few fonts as possible while it still looks good. And you want to, if you're trying to have this load fast and rank higher on Google, you may want to look into some very user-friendly or load-friendly fonts. So like Roboto or Open Sans are 2 very popular ones. So just something to look into if you want your website to be a little quicker. Then if we go over to apps, there are lots of different applications you can get on Weebly here. So there's some that are made by Weebly, there's some social ones, you can have some traffic boosting ones, and there's lots of apps. Scroll through here and check these out if you want. I don't typically add that many apps for your average just quick online store or just simple, when you're first building this website, you might not need these apps right away. So let's go and close this, not get any apps yet. If we go over to settings, this gets a little bit more advanced. You can go into some general stuff there. There is also SEO. So again, for your general site, if you want your site description and stuff like that, you can decide the editors. If you have other people working on this website, you can choose, who they are, what role they have, and you can see like the last login there. You can have members joining your website if you have like a members website. Some people do that if they have like, creative content on there, or maybe like somebody has to become a member and you collect their email for an email list, then just some other options there. You can go down and manage your apps, and you can actually manage some blog stuff down here. And then we also have help up there if you want to reach out to Weebly. So that's everything across the top. Let's go into the main one, as I mentioned before, which is build. And actually, let's go and build a different page. Let's work on the home page first. So if we go to home right here, you'll see that brings home up. Then let's go back to build. And within build, let's go down and just start looking at what we have here. So if you just go around, you can actually see it's kind of a strip layout, pretty common for a lot of website builders like Weebly. Of course, Wix is kind of the same way, where you have options here where this is like one whole strip right here. Then we go down and the whole white area is another strip. And then we go down here and this is in another strip. So you can add, or they call them sections is what they do, but it's like a strip layout. And so you can add things, you can add different strips, you can move these around. And so let's just look at the first one. Let's just say if we want this, which I believe is an image, then we can either edit the image, we can replace it, we can make it a light box, which means if somebody clicks on it, it'll come fill up the whole screen. You can link it to something. So let's just say if we want this to be a link, we can actually go and link it to maybe like a website URL. So we want this to link to maybe another website, or if we want it to be linking to another page, you can easily do that here. And so we should be good with that. So let's link that and we can go back. So that now links out to another website, another domain. And then if we go down, this is text right here. So the little text editor pops up above there. So you can change like the text color, whatever. If you want it to be redo and undo, those are the options on the right there. Or you can just use the hotkeys on your keyboard. You can remove all the formatting, or what is really common for a lot of things like down here, if you're writing a blog post, a lot of times people will have certain links to either different sources as a backlink to somebody else, or a link to another article within their website. So right here we can go and create a link, and you can link to whatever you want. Somebody else's page like I just showed you, a product page, a blog post, a phone, an email. Lots of options. Be creative. Whatever your need is, it should be very easy to add links. And that's a really big thing in a lot of websites today. So down here, again, learn more. That's going to be something that is probably linked right now. And it'll bring you to probably a blog post or maybe to About Me or something. On the top, if we go up to the top left, you'll see right here, this is some text right there. And this really, you want this to be linking to your home page. This is really everywhere you go on your header. You want the logo on the top left. I recommend instead of text, just make it your logo. It's usually pretty easy, so you get the right font and everything. But just link that back to your home page. So wherever people are on your website, they don't get lost. They can click on the top left and just always go back to your home page. Now, as we go down, you'll see that if we really want to move things around, you'll see they have a space right here. You can choose where this divider is, so you can move it over. So the way that Weebly works is not as much like a click and drag, and more like kind of a grid type system where you have a block and you put in whatever you want. So let's go over here. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So if we take another section and we click and drag the section between these two, you'll get a nice blank section right there. You can choose if you want it to be like you can add a gallery or a contact menu, a featured thing, a team thing, whatever you want. Or what I want to show you is just how to go and add elements. So if we want a title at the top of this block, see this little blue line at the top there? You can see it shows up, and you're just going to drop it and it'll show up at the top of this block right here. So you can click and say, this is a new section. So now let's say we want to add some text. So if we click on text and we drag it down, again, it highlights all the sections, so you can see if we want to add it to this section right here, you can see the blue line popping up above, to the right, to the left, or below the title. So let's drop it right below the title there, and we'll have some text down below. So we can add some text, just whatever we want right there, a whole bunch of new text there. And let's say we want an image here as well. So if we go down, the next thing is image. You can click and drag, and here you can see the image can go to the left of that, to the right of that. So if we want it to be, let's just say we want it right between the two, right there. We want an image to pop up right there. And we can choose what image we want. We can upload an image, but you can't really resize things that well. What you have to do is actually add a spacer. So if we want to do that, we can go down and add a spacer, as you see right here. And let's add it to the left of this image. So there is a spacer, and this allows you to click and drag, and this is kind of how you resize things. So if we want the picture to be narrower, we click and drag that to the right, and we'll have an image in that corner, and then a nice blank space right here, if that's what you're looking for. Now, if you say, you know what, I actually don't want a spacer right there, I'd rather have some text there, you can go and hover over the spacer, click the red X button right there, and then delete it, and this will go back to taking up the whole, spanning the whole width of the website there. Now, like I said, if instead you want something else, maybe you want a map right there or something, you can click and drag this and have that on the left, and then you'll have a small map to the left of what you have right there. So as we continue down, you can add a gallery or a slideshow, and when you do that, you can actually have different images from your computer. You can search for them, favorites. This actually looks a little bit archaic. That looks kind of like a 90s bar at the top, but uploading images works just fine for me. Then, like I showed you, you can have a map right there, and you can actually adjust your map settings, how far it's zoomed in, where it's zoomed into. So maybe like your business address would be a good idea. And then you can have a more advanced location, more advanced display if you want that. So showing the marker, showing the scale, map control, so zooming in and out. So it should be pretty interactive. Again, hosted by Google right there. Google Maps is what they're using. And it could be a great way for people to find your restaurant or whatever your brick and mortar shop is. People can find it like that. We can have a contact form. I do recommend contact forms all the time pretty much. They're a great way to get leads or get feedback or get emails, or it's a great way to get interaction from people who are visiting your website. So if you click on it, you can view the entries. You can go to form options and change what they type in. So you can have like email to, you can have confirmation message, you can have spacing, you can change the button. You get a lot of things you can change. The fields, you can change what they are. And again, kind of the same layout here, where if you want anything on the left here, if you want like checkboxes, you just click and drag that, and you can put that like maybe right above email. So we go until we see the blue line, and from the blue line, we can just drop that in right there, and you'll see that you have different options. So contact forms are very easy to adjust, and you'll see all we do is go up to save, and we have it right there. That's our contact form. So it'll say right there, it'll automatically sync with promote. Let's not do that right now. We can do that later. As we go down the left, again, we have newsletter form. We've got buttons. Buttons are a big one because they're just essentially a small image that just does something. So if we want to add it to maybe like we want to add it like right down here. Let's say we want a button right above learn more. Let's get rid of learn more and instead have a button right there. And so this button, we could have it say learn more. Button text could be learn more. Right? Maybe we want a button instead of this down here, which means we can just go and get rid of this. So if you just hover over that, again, click on the X, delete that little link text right there, and we'll have this button instead, and the button can link out to maybe a blog post. And we don't actually have any blog posts right now, but it would be right there. That's how you link to a blog post. As we continue down, you can change a lot of stuff with here. So here you can see what they did is in this section they have 3 images. They have little dividers right here, and you can move where the dividers are. So if you want one section to be bigger than the other, you could do that. And then we have just below there a little title, another title, a little squiggly line, and then a button. So it's really easy to make this however you want. And one thing is you are limited to this width, and you pretty much have to fill that width unless you go back and add more spacers. As I showed you here, sections are the whole area, dividers will make these little things like that, and then spacers will essentially be like if you want a blank space between different things. You can add different media, so HD video, you can add audio, you can add whatever, a document, a YouTube video, Flash, or you can add a file. And then also you can go down and add some e-commerce stuff if you want to have a store or if you want to have some different things. So let's go and check out another page. Let's make a new page right here. We're going to make this a product page, and we're going to add products to our store. And so we can do whatever we want. If we want to call this like product number 1. So let's add an item right here. It kind of walks you through it. So we can say product number 1. We can make it prices like $2 or something. And then this is a product. And so we can just choose a lot of things about this. And like I said, I'll show you more of this later on. But for now, we're just going to add that just so I can show you guys how to do that very, very quickly. So we are pretty much good with this item right here. So then if you just go up to overview and click on edit website, it'll bring you back to where you were with your website. So the build tab, and we were scrolling down the left side. So left side, we go down, we went through structure, we went through media. I just mentioned e-commerce a little bit. I don't want to talk about that too much because that will be another video like I mentioned before. I can show you how to set up e-commerce with this, but essentially you'll just be clicking and dragging that over and adding products. It walks you through that fairly easily. Then you can add a search box. So if we want a search box, I don't know, pretty much anywhere. So if we just want it like on our title right here, let's say we want a search box. We can add that right there so people can search on our website. I really don't recommend search boxes. It's something that you saw a lot maybe 5 or 10 years ago, but people are removing them now because with Google as the primary directory to getting to websites, people tend to end up at the page they want, and typically your search bar will not perform as well as you want and may cause more problems than it actually solves. So I recommend just making a very easy navigation instead of using a search bar. Now let's go down, and how about we want to add something else? Let's check out a block quote. So a block quote, if we want to add that above these three, you can see right there, block quote is pretty much what we saw. Like I believe that might be a block quote there. And it's pretty easy to just add whatever you want. It's really no different than any other text. It's just italic and already centered. So sometimes convenient. And you can add surveys, you can add Google AdSense, stuff like that. Google AdSense, if we want to slap an ad in, maybe like right there, you can authorize it and you can add, different things. Make sure you're signed up and registered for Google AdSense. But it's a way to monetize your website, and it's a really easy way Weebly makes for you to just throw ads in there and make it very easy to use Google AdSense on your website. Then we can also add like a cookie opt-out. So if you're tracking, you can add it right there, and people can opt out of your cookies if you're tracking them with like a pixel or something like that. And then also we can go down and change things like adding different apps. Now there's already one app here because this is a template that we're using, and obviously they have it set up for that. The next thing that I didn't mention yet is actually checking out the blog page. So if we go to blog, it is pretty straightforward, very easy to do. So what you'll see here is they have some authors, archives, categories. You can change the layout of your main blog page, but if you don't have any posts, obviously nothing will show up here. So on the bottom, you'll see a little blue button on the bottom right, and it says new post. Click on that, and this is how you create a new post. And it should be pretty straightforward. Again, kind of the same tools we saw before. We can change, like, the post title could be how to use Weebly. And then here you can start dragging elements. So if we want like some text right there, you can add that. And you have, so a very straightforward website builder, honestly. It's going to be just like the rest of building a page, but you're just building a blog post. So you can add an image right there. And then maybe below that, if you want to add some more text, you can put that there. If you want the image to be next to some other text, go and just put the text to the left of it. And you'll see that, again, it's very easy to build your blog and make things look really good. And you can have comments on there. It shows the date. And so that's pretty much everything you need to know about building a blog. And you can go up to the top right and you can post it, or you could discard the draft. You could save it, of course. I'm just going to post it, publish this, and now you do have a blog post. Well, I have a blog post out there on how to use Weebly. As you can see, it's like 10 letters long, I guess. But you get the idea of how you're actually going to be doing this. So you can see right here that you can actually share your post then, and you can share it on Twitter, whatever you want to do. I'm not going to do any of that right now, but then your post will pop up right here back on the main blog page. So if we click on that, it brings you into the blog post, and you can edit it if you need to, and then you can go and update the blog post, meaning like republish it and let it, Google will refine it again and people will start seeing the new one. And so when you're getting started, those are really all the tools you need to add content to your website, but that's definitely not all you need to know. The next thing that I recommend doing is actually going up right here and clicking on this, the device switcher, and you can actually switch to mobile view. And I highly recommend this, that everyone should do this as much as possible to make sure that your website actually still looks good. So you can see that things are moved around. Now the map is up here, and we don't have our spacers in the same place, and things just look different. And so it's really important that you go and check this out, because a very large portion of your traffic will actually come from mobile devices. So people use their phones as much or more than they use their laptop. I mean, comment right now if you're watching this on your phone. I think there's a pretty good chance that a lot of people are watching this on a phone. And if not, I'm sure lots of people will be visiting your website regardless on a phone. So definitely go and check that out and make sure that your website looks normal with this. And if it doesn't, you can always go and just revise it a little bit, go back to desktop mode, move things around. One kind of drawback with Weebly is that they don't have the best mobile editor right there. So if you're trying to edit how it looks in mobile, most of that you'll be doing over here in the desktop version. Just one small drawback, but it's pretty easy to work around. And for the most part, I find they do a good job because they're kind of a block layout here instead of a random drag and drop. I find that they make it pretty easy, and they generally do a good job of translating from the desktop version to the mobile version. And so that's pretty much everything that you really need to know here. Then if we go down to the bottom right, you'll see this is where you can go and find some different tips. You can learn about adding an element right there, removing an element. I showed you all of that in this video, but if you need reminders, it is nice that they have that right down there. And then the last thing you'd want to do is go up to the top right and click on publish. And you can publish your website. It will be available out there at the domain that I showed you. So next I want to talk about how you should manage and optimize your website. So once you have all of the information on there, go up to the top left, click the X, and you'll see this will bring you to your Weebly kind of dashboard right here. They have a setup guide and walk you through some basic stuff. We're not going to look at that right now, but you'll see that it does give you some information. How many sales you made, how many page views, how many unique visits you have. And then the setup guide, like I mentioned before, is down here for like connecting a domain, setting up like shipping and tax and stuff like that. If you're selling things, publishing your website, and they walk you through a couple different things. Then on the left, it does get a little bit noisy over here. As you can see, you can go down and have different options for like Messenger or pop-ups. So if we want pop-ups, we can go and click on that. And again, this is all a little bit more advanced stuff, but it's a good way to, have a pop-up to have an email campaign, for example. So you can have it pop up, have people sign up for your email campaign. You can offer discounts. You can make an announcement if you just changed your website or if it's under construction. It might be good to do that. Or it could be like, I don't know, if you're maybe like a liquor store or something, you could be having a pop-up to verify the age of a visitor to make sure they're like over 21 or whatever they need to be. So let's go and check out, maybe build an announcement. I'm not actually going to go through all of this right now, but you'll see that they do have some different layouts. So you can have like when someone gets to your home page, maybe after some amount of time, it'll pop up and it'll say like, hey, we've got some special offers, or hey, our website's under construction. And you can see what it looks like on mobile. And again, you can see what it looks like on desktop. You can change the settings for it. You can change the frequency of it, like every time they visit, or it could be like once a day, once every 3 days. Different options here, and it's all really cool that you can do that. So let's say I'm not going to save that draft, I'm not going to add that, but it's something that you definitely want to check out and consider doing on your website. If we go to Messenger, you can set up Facebook Messenger. I'm not going to do that in this video. If we go down to items, you can see like an item library, categories, reviews, gift cards. This is more like store-based stuff, so gift cards or coupons maybe could be something that you use right there. Marketing gets into some more advanced stuff. So if you want to run ads or have a mailing list or have, pretty much any of this stuff, let's go to overview right here. Not every website is really going to concern themselves that much with marketing. It obviously is very important, but specifically more important if you're doing things like an online store, for example. But obviously, if you're doing something like just a personal portfolio or a wedding website or a website for, basic casual stuff like that, and you're not trying to just grow an audience with it, maybe marketing won't be as important for you. So again, down here, they have some suggestions. You can add different pop-ups and things like that. It's all a little bit less important. You can go down to insights and see the overview for your traffic. Maybe this is an okay tool. I wouldn't say it's the best tool out there to see how well your website's doing. I typically use something like Ahrefs or a lot of the Google tools out there with their analytics that can really help to track your website a little bit more and compare to other websites. But for basic comparisons and for basic understanding of what works and doesn't work and what blog posts work and don't work, it's not bad to do this. So guys, I think that's pretty much everything I have to show you in this video about starting your first Weebly website. Obviously, when you get started, the biggest thing is not going to be to know every single detail about Weebly. It's really just going to be doing it. So like at the end of this video, go out there, start your website, and just start adding information to it, start building it, and publish a website so you have a website out there, because the best way to succeed on the internet is to be on the internet. So, sitting back from a recliner and watching, lots of videos and thinking about it and watching other websites grow, is great, but eventually you just have to take the next step and build your website. And I hope this video helped you to do that. I wish you success with your online website and whatever ventures you're doing out there. Good luck, guys. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.